The first use case you think about blockchain is payments, right? So that's the first thing you want to do, is show that you can secure a payment mechanism just like Visa, MasterCard, but much more secure, without middlemen, take away the fees, offers economies of scale. So the more people use it, the cheaper it gets. The way we view the future of value in the long term, 3 to 5 to 10 years, we view layer 1 blockchains will essentially become like the new republics. These will be the new mechanisms where all the value is going to proliferate to. In the future, there will be the layer 1 blockchain, there will be the mining market, there'll be the dApps, and there'll be tokens. So the lower you get in the stack, the lower risk you have, but the lower rewards. The highest risk reward will be on the layer 1 blockchain, because that's where all the value will flow up. But it's highest value, highest risk. We view layer 1 blockchains, which is Bitcoin, Syscoin, Ethereum, as court systems. They need to be combative to the external forces that we don't control, even in the software world. In the real world, like inflation, hyperinflation, wars, these systems need to be secure from that. And this is why we view Bitcoin as the gold standard for security and decentralization. What else does the world need? What else does the world cherish when you have something like Bitcoin? How can we extend that to something else where we can take advantage to build real world utility? This is where Ethereum comes in. For me, Ethereum is a gold standard for flexibility or general computation. We're trying to stick to the gold standards we know the world's going to cherish and develop on, and we put those two concepts together. And this is what Syscoin is.
What's up, people? Hotep Jesus. We back. 1 2 1 2 1 2.
That Hotep Jesus dude.
Hope everyone's doing wonderful out there. Shout out to my sponsor, Syscoin, the best of Bitcoin, the best of Ethereum. They're using Bitcoin for their security, and they're using Ethereum for their smart contracts, for their speed of transactions, merge mining, using the proof of work blockchain. If you guys want to work on a system that is safe, secure, inexpensive, and fast, something that solves the trilemma of blockchain, you guys want to check out Syscoin, go to hotepjesus.com/Syscoin, or hit the Syscoin logo on hotepjesus.com, fill out the form, and somebody from Syscoin will reach out to you immediately. They are incentivized to do so, and they're willing to do so, and very excited as well. Once again, it's hotepjesus.com/Syscoin, or hit the Syscoin logo on hotepjesus.com if you want to start building on the latest and greatest blockchain technology, boasting thousands of transactions per second. That is the Syscoin technology. Without further ado, we got our guest today, Laura Miles.
Hey guys, it's good to be on. Thank you for having me, man.
It's wonderful to have you here. Do you want to talk about the incident that we talked about before? We got on live? Your leg?
Oh yeah, so basically guys, I broke my leg. So I was jumping over a border in Croatia to enter Schengen, which is a free travel zone in Europe legally. So I wanted to see my girlfriend. I'm banned from Schengen. So I entered in, I climbed over this mountain and traveled, almost 1,000 miles to see her. And then on the way back, after seeing her, I climbed over the same mountain again, but then I slipped down a mountain, broke my ankle, fractured it completely, hurt like hell. And when I was climbing back over again, it was only 14 miles I had to go to find refuge, civilization. But then it got dark really quickly, we're in the winter months. So I'm walking in complete darkness as I see lights from Border Patrol checking, this area, aching in pain whilst the wind's blowing. It's a very tall mountain and it's just freezing, raining. And I hobble all the way to the hospital, get everything checked out. I fly home thinking, you know what, it was worth it to see my girlfriend, my long-term girlfriend. It's really good. And then when I get home, I get a call saying, we're not together anymore. She broke up with me.
Wait a second. Fuck the bitch. We don't care about her. Why were you banned?
Exactly, yeah. So I've seen a lot of immigration in Europe. I'm from England, so I've seen a lot of people illegally come to our area, our countries, without any issue. And I'm thinking, if these people have no resources, no knowledge, don't even know the language, how do they climb across these numerous borders? So one day I flew to Greece and I illegally crossed into North Macedonia for a border entry, which is a very normal border. This is where all the illegal immigrants travel. So I did it myself in 2 days without a tent, without anything. And it was easy. Now, it got to a point where I was bragging about it online, but my camera corrupted, my footage corrupted. So guess what? I flew back and did it in reverse again. I flew out and I posted it on YouTube. And next time I flew into Greece on the way back from Afghanistan, like a little lovely holiday, they stopped me and said, "Oh, you're banned from Schengen now. You're banned from pretty much every EU country, 50-something countries." And so that's why I'm banned, basically. It's lovely.
So you're basically banned for crossing the border illegally twice.
I'm banned from goofing off, basically. Absolutely. Well, I made it 3 times now, and to be fair, what are they going to do? Ban me again? I can keep crossing. It just takes an extra day or so.
So you do this on foot?
Yeah. I mean, I need the exercise. If anything, they're helping me stay healthy. So thank you, EU border guards and border security. It's really not hard to. You think this is some remote mountain far away from the border. Oh no, it's 2 miles east of the actual real border where you can cross through land. So I don't know what the border security are doing. I don't know what the border guards are doing. I don't know why they don't put a fence up or have some sort of monitoring system or sensors or something. But I saw loads of Afghans crossing. I saw loads of Syrians. I saw Libyans. Pretty much everyone could just cross. If anything, they might as well leave some food out there because they're just making it so easy.
There's no fence, no wall or anything?
No fence, no wall whatsoever. You can just cross. It's like a hiking trail at best. Yeah. If anything, it's a little bit scenic, you might enjoy it a little bit. I can see why the migrants keep going. They're like, wow, this is a winter wonderland. It's just lovely.
Oh my God. Okay, so you do a lot of these, let's call it stunts or, expeditions, adventures. This one's titled The Fearless Adventurer. How did you become this person that's just like, you know what, I'm going to do this? Who is it? Who was the media company? You could have worked for them, man.
Vice.
Vice, yeah. This is like some Vice type stuff.
Yeah, Vice used to be good, man. But old Vice, they did some heinous stuff. It was very interesting, very daring.
Yeah.
But nowadays, man, they've gone back on what they used to do. But I like the old stuff anyway. So good question. I'll tell you what happens. So it's COVID time, and I want to go on holiday. I'm going to go into a high stress job because I've just graduated from university, and I'm going to work 80 to 100 hours a week. That's my contracted hours. And I thought before I sell my body and soul for some peanuts, I want to go on a nice little holiday now. I've got some cash saved up. And I look around during COVID and I see every single country requires a vaccine. Every single one requires vaccines, PCRs, blah, blah, blah. And I say, you know what, I'm not getting vaccinated. What's the one country that would let me in? And that one country was Afghanistan. And now this was August of 2021, and that's a very historical date because I get told by the embassies, the governments, the media, everything that Kabul's going to be fine. So I fly to Afghanistan and I'm having a lovely time. 3 or 4 days later, the country collapses. Kabul was overrun by Taliban members. I'm documenting my travel, my little stunt on 4chan, just talking about what's happening, pointing out how the media is lying, just goofing off. I end up taking selfies with the Taliban. I end up meeting special forces in the American compounds. I get on a flight out. I just see everything firsthand. I'm the last ever tourist in the old country of Afghanistan.
Wait a second. You just went over like 30 days worth of adventures in 10 seconds. You ran into who? Taliban?
I ran into the Taliban. I'll show you the visa if anyone's doubting it. So this is a historical visa right here, guys. Look at it. Look at the dates and everything. It's expired, this passport now, so don't worry about stealing the details. But I met the Taliban. They were running the place. So why did I put on a burqa?
What place? What place? When you're saying the country of Afghanistan?
Yeah, man. So
okay.
Over the space of a few months.
Wait. Hold on. You got to give me the walkthrough, right? So when you go into Afghanistan, are you staying at a hotel?
Yeah, man, I'm staying in this compound, so it's like a hotel, but it has fence walls, security, that type of stuff.
Okay.
Because bombings are common by ISIS, there's ISIS in Afghanistan, kidnappings happen, and the Taliban, you can't tell who they are. They're not a singular ethnic group. They sometimes dress normally. They dress like civilians, so they could be anywhere. So at this point, the Taliban is taking over some parts of the western side of the country. And I fly in, I've been told by everyone, that Kabul will hold out for like 90 days, might even win the war against the Taliban, right? Because the US has left at this point. So I'm chilling, I'm doing some sightseeing, I'm doing a little bit of charity work, handing money out on the streets. I'm just enjoying myself. It's a lovely place, honestly. Has some really good food. And then an ultimatum is given at 9 a.m. on a certain date saying, if you don't surrender, we're going to come in guns blazing, start a war inside Kabul. But if you guys surrender, we're going to come in peacefully. We're not going to hurt anyone. And then everyone in Afghanistan panics, knowing this is a real Taliban threat. So there's a run on the banks. People start running to their bank accounts, or rich people, realizing they can't withdraw any money. The day previous, I went to the bank account trying to withdraw $200. The ATM of the central bank did not have $200 inside. That's why you got to rely on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, right? So there was a total bank run. And the whole thing just collapsed. People couldn't withdraw their life savings. And they knew the Taliban were going to seize some money, seize assets, maybe even start, executing people. They've heard of these heinous stories. So everyone starts running. Everyone starts closing up their shops. Younger people are selling their watches because they think, it has a gold watch, I'll chop my hand off for it. The older people have lived through all the previous wars, are just sunbathing in the streets, laughing at the people running and everything. I'm there like, oh, crap, I will get to the embassy. So I run to the UK embassy. And turns out it's been abandoned a few hours ago. The embassy staff might have figured out what's going on ahead of time. So there's Afghans just stealing the sofas from the embassy. They're just loading it up into trucks, taking some free stuff. And I'm laughing at that. I think, the airport, right? I've got a return ticket. I'll book a ticket right now. So we start driving, and I'm on my phone trying to book a ticket, and it keeps saying, my card gets declined. I'm thinking, I've got the money. How come? Oh, it's because I'm trying to make a big purchase in Afghanistan. It's been flagged as fraud or something. So I contact my bank. I call them up. I'm like, yo, you have a Taliban behind me, bro. Please let my card through. They think it's a troll. They hang up. I call them again. They're like, oh, it's just seen the news. Hell, okay. Sorry to hear that. Absolutely, will help you out. So then I realize all flights are grounded, so there's no point. So I'm having a heart attack at this point. You can imagine. I get to the airport, and nothing's running, man. You can't get out of the country. Maybe you can drive 500 miles to Pakistan. Not gonna happen, Taliban are there, ISIS are there. I'm encircled, I'm trapped. So after running and driving halfway across the city for 3 hours to try and escape, I decide I'm kind of screwed. So I start walking, really exhausted, no water, I'm semi-heat stroked. And the Taliban roll up right in front of me in armored vehicles with machine gun turrets on the back.
So you have a rental car, or you're in an Uber?
Basically a rental car, yeah.
Okay,
so I have a tour guide with me. He's showing me around. He's trying to get me out. He's trying to be a good guy, basically.
Who's behind the wheel? You or the tour guide?
So my tour guide is an Afghan man. He's called Alem, Mohammed Alem Wafa. Really kind guy. I paid him a decent amount to show me around. And I made sure I looked after his family after the fall, basically.
Who has their hand on the steering wheel?
Oh, him.
He's driving, okay.
Brother. Yeah. I got screwed over by COVID, so my driving lessons got cut. I'm only 23. This happened when I was 21, right?
Okay.
So we basically are defeated. We're walking out of the airport thinking, well, I guess I have to hide out somewhere, wait it out until something happens. And then the Taliban, out of nowhere, they rolled around the corner in armored vehicles. They have machine guns. They have the balaclavas on. Their faces are covered. They look like they want to kill me. At this point, I just don't care. So I walk across the street and block them Tiananmen Square style, like Tank Man. I walk like that. And they stop and they look at me like, what's this white guy doing? Wait, why is there a white guy here? What are you doing here? And I give them a thumbs up. Thanks for letting me pass the road, I didn't think of it. Because they're trying to capture the airport. That's the one place they haven't captured yet, I realized. So I'm blocking the Taliban objective, I'm like, I kind of delay the invasion by 5 seconds. And the guys in the back, in the cars behind them, don't know someone's crossing, so they start beeping their horns, like, what's going on? And I see these people, and I just give them a thumbs down, like, boo, start beeping your horn, I'm trying to cross here. They give me a look, and like, this guy, what is he doing? But the Taliban seem friendly. They're just kind of laughing at me a little bit, smiling, waving. I think they're kind of light-hearted about it. So then I start walking, and I hear there's a compound nearby that's housing, foreigners. So I start walking towards that area where two Taliban commandos come up to me, AKs ever ready. They look angry, and they corner me. They basically push me into a corner. And they come really close to me, trying to intimidate me, and they go, passport. And I go, okay, here you go. Shaking a little bit. I'm pooing myself a little bit. I've got to admit. And they flick through, and they point to this and go, United Kingdom passport. You are English, brother. We do not like English, pretty much. And they look angry. And I go, no, brother. United Kingdom. It means England, Scotland, and Wales. I am Welsh. And they go, Wales? What is this place? What is Wales? And I go, England invaded us. England invaded our country hundreds of years ago. We are occupied by England. One struggle, brother. You're just like me. And they go, England invaded you? I'm like, yeah, it's really bad, I hate them. I hate the English. And they pat me on the back and go, enjoy your stay, and walk off. At that point, I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm really proud. I have no idea I had that inside me. So eventually we walk with no problem to the compound. And it's got a Turkish flag there. It's near the airport. And there's a guard outside. And you see a big crowd of people being turned away. So I'm panicking, thinking, maybe I'll be turned away. So I fly my passport. I'm like, hey, I'm British, can you let me through? And he yells back, no, this is Turkish only. And I go, don't worry, I'm not Greek. And he started chuckling. And he actually decides, you know what, I'll yell back inside the room. And then a British person comes out and goes, oh, okay, you're that guy from 4chan, come on in. They recognize me. Apparently, I've become a little legend of the British military, because they're like, who's this retard traveling and doing this stuff? So they let me in. They give me Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is actually very good. And I just started streaming it. I started live streaming it. I was some shit posting the entire thing. And then I find out my Wi-Fi gets cut. Some big military officer comes in and starts yelling at me, saying, you shouldn't start live streaming it. Try and keep it down low. And it creates a scene in the compound.
Military for what country?
British, Americans,
okay.
Turkish. Basically, the whole NATO is there, man. Everyone there. And they're all special forces, because most militaries won't let in, only the best are here. And there's me, little scrawny, hairline, receding little kid, staring down these people. I'm shitting myself a little bit. Sorry for the language. So then that old man, the commander, goes away. And all the other people start shaking my hand. They're like, we think you're legends. We're with we used to be ex-SAS, now we're military contractors. We've got some Navy SEALs people down over there. Come have a drink with us. So they invite me upstairs, and they give me body armor. They give me I think it was M40. They give me pretty much all their gear, and they say you might need it in the future. They're joking. They're sharing Pringles. They have alcohol in this country, in a strict Islamic nation. They snuck it in. They have diplomatic immunity. They can do anything, really. So they're drunk, they're plastered, they're laughing with me, they're joking. We're just joking about the situation. And then the next day comes around, we go to bed, next day comes around, and there's word of an evacuation. So the airport has been overrun by Afghans trying to get out. The Taliban have started pushing people back. And there's another military airstrip that will be only for expat people. So British people, Indonesian workers, there's a lot of people working on infrastructure, telecommunications. And we end up going there, basically. And I end up flying out. I didn't take a seat of any Afghans or anything on that plane. It was just for foreigners only. And then after the media backlash, there was a good group of people, the base people like you and I, the good people. They liked what I did. They thought it was ballsy. They liked the spirit. They liked the charity work. But then the mainstream media hated it. You know, they were saying, "Oh, it's so selfish. He took the seats off the plane," and I was like, "Well, you know, I can't get a job now. I'm going to travel for a living," and I've done it ever since, man.
So you got canceled.
A little bit, yeah. Actually, yeah, I did get cancelled. I never thought of it like that. Man, I thought.
So if 4chan boosts your profile, makes you sort of famous, and then the mainstream media catches wind of who you are, and then they shame you for taking a seat on this flight that was for expats.
Yeah, exactly. They said it was for Afghans. They said, oh, an Afghan could have sat there. I'm like, no, look at the video of me on that flight. It's all men. It's all middle-aged men. Half of them are Asian, half of them are, quarter of them are white, quarter of them are, Middle Eastern areas. There's no women and children on there. It's not evacuation flights. It's only for expats, man, and the only people working there are men. You know, so the flights where people are hanging onto the airplane or falling off, that was a completely different runway. I tried to tell these media, so I was like, hey, you got it wrong. You know, they reached me out with comments too. I was calling them saying, hey, this is completely wrong, you know. They still run with it. They just lie all the time, man. Like, I provided so much proof, they just don't care. Whatever gets them clicks, whatever gets them outrage, whatever gets them anger. But that's how it is.
Yeah.
You had the same thing with the Starbucks thing, right?
Yeah.
They tried to use you for propaganda. I remember that back in the day. That was amazing.
Oh, you remember that?
Yeah, of course, man. I remember watching it. I think it was like Count Dankula or someone was speaking about you, and it was like all over the news for like a few days. You gave free Starbucks, and I was like, this guy's a legend. You know, I never thought I would actually be speaking to you, so I think it's destiny or something.
Damn, I ain't know who got that for. I was just playing around. Damn, okay. That's crazy. Let's talk about Ukraine. So now you're popping, and you at some point you decide to choose the Ukraine. Why do you choose the Ukraine?
Oh, war popped off, of course. So I saw it, and I saw like, huge military buildup. I've been to Ukraine once. That was actually my first ever country I visited outside of England. I went to Chernobyl when I was 18. But I was like, you know, I'll go back again. If the war's going to pop off, I might as well, you know, try my luck once again.
Mm-hmm.
So I flew over to Ukraine. I'm chilling. I actually went for Frontline in Donetsk, and I got given a military uniform, like a Ukrainian military uniform, because they recognized me from Afghanistan. So they gave me an honorary uniform. I'm wearing it, and I have one of those paper masks on. I have a Putin mask. So I don't feel a Putin mask. You know, Vladimir Putin, the leader of Russia.
Yeah.
I have like his paper Halloween mask on. I'm pretending to be him. I'm just messing them. I walk up to the border and I just start waving to them, you know, in the Ukrainian uniform as Putin. So it's just, I'm just goofing off.
So wait, let's back up really fast. You fly into Ukraine?
Yeah. This was just before the war happened, by the way.
Okay.
So like 2-3 weeks, and I'm running off donations. So I go there. I'm playing a little bit of a bet, thinking the war might pop off soon. And I'm just chilling. I'm traveling around, getting a feel of the place. And after 2 weeks, I think, you know what? It's been 2 weeks now. Nothing's really progressing. I'm kind of running out of money for this trip. I'm going to fly back, guys. If something else happens, I'm very sorry. It just didn't happen. And then the next day, after I got back, the war broke out. The next day. So I wake up to 6 a.m. to like 50 missed calls going, you need to get back, man. You need to fly there. Then, the airlines, they've all closed flights to Ukraine. So I speak to my Polish friend, and I get my first flight to Poland. It's like 11 p.m. and there's like so many people doing the same flights. Everyone on that plane flying to Poland is a journalist or a Fed or some sort of military guy who wants to relive the glory days. And I get the last ever train in to Warsaw, from Warsaw, to Kiev at that point.
So you take the train in, okay.
Yeah. So because there's not too many Ubers willing to go in. You know, there's there's not many footpaths.
So what's that train ride like? Is that an hour, 2 hours?
It was about 5. No, it's about 8 hours.
8 hour ride. Okay,
yeah,
8 hour ride.
Yeah, these were trains with beds in, so you got to sleep a little bit. You got to relax. I met this one guy. He's an oversized lad, to put it lightly, you know, but he was lovely, you know, like a lovable size almost.
Yeah.
And he told me, his girlfriend is in Ukraine. And he wants to get her out. He just wants to save her. And his girlfriend's panicking. This man took time off work, flew all the way from Norway to get his girlfriend out. And I'm trying to give him some advice. He's never been in a war zone. He's like an office guy, never done anything in his life. He's proving himself. So I'm kind of making friends with this guy. I give him advice, and he seems sad, basically. He's a lovely guy, and I heard he actually got his girlfriend out. So good man. So when I get into Kiev, I see, there's some cars that have been blown up. There's glass everywhere. Every hotel is abandoned. It feels like a ghost town. Sirens kind of echo out the entire place. I started live streaming it. The internet's still working, so I live stream. The fireworks in the skies. And I decided, you know what, this isn't extreme enough for me, man. I decided to go to Kharkiv, the front lines at the time. So this is where the real fighting's happening. And all the trains in Ukraine became free. And they were like every 20 minutes you can go on a train anywhere. And no one's heading into this place. So I had the entire train myself. It had like eight carriages. I walked through the entire length of it, no one else on there. So I get there and I meet a follower of mine. He's British. He's actually living on the front lines because he wanted cheap rent and he doesn't want to come back to England and he doesn't want to leave his cat. He doesn't know where his cat is. His cat's ran away. So he's waiting there, hoping to get his cat to come back. And as I'm walking back from his place around 3 p.m., I decided to get an Uber because there's a curfew at like 4 p.m. And if you're inside or outside, during the curfew time, they assume you're Russian and they assume you're the enemy. So I myself, I'm like, oh, good thing I got a ride. But then, man, the ride breaks down. I'm 15 miles from my hotel. And I'm panicking, because now the streets are a ghost town. There's fog everywhere. If they see a silhouette of me walking around, they're just going to shoot me, man. So I'm walking and I see some bushes. So I decide, I'm going to go to this bushy plant area. Maybe I'll spend the night here. So I walk in and I start taking a piss because I've been walking for a little bit. I need to go to the bathroom. And then 4 Ukrainian military officers just pull out of the shadows and they point their guns at me and they start yelling Ukrainian. I'm like, no, I'm British. Look, I'm not Russian. Don't kill me. I'm good. And they start laughing. They're like, oh, you got lost. I'm like, yeah, my car broke down. It's a bit annoying. And they pat me down, everything. And they go, oh, you're in a tough spot. And I go, yeah, tell me about it. This is my first time. And they look through my visas and they see, South Sudan, Afghanistan, and they start thinking I'm a spy. And they start thinking, it was really good to have some British help here, good thing that you're here. I'm like, no, man, I'm just like a journalist, maybe a tourist. And they're like, no, man, we see your passport. We have no problem with it. You're helping us out. I'm like, okay, whatever. So they say, okay, we're radioing down the street, like 5 miles down.
So they basically think you're James Bond at this point.
Yeah, they think I'm some ultra trained specialist. I'm just some retard goofing off, doing my life. So they say, okay, there's some people waiting for you. They're around that area anyway. You're not inconvenienced to them. Just pop down, and they'll help you out. Basically, they'll house you for the night maybe. So I start walking down, and then I see in the shadows there's another man. He comes out running at me. He starts pointing guns at me. I look in the corner, there's 2 snipers, and they're like aiming in my general direction. And they yell for me to take off my bag, my bag with all my supplies in. So I throw it to them, and they start searching everything. They delete the footage off my camera, unfortunately. And they start yelling, you're in a bad situation, but we'll help you out, mate. We know you're just a journalist. Don't worry about it. We want to show you around, show you what we're doing. This is a good opportunity for you. So they take me inside their little base. And it's actually an abandoned school. It's got all its lights taken out. All the windows have been blacked out, and we're using the front of our phones as like a torch to navigate. And then they take me in and they Google me. And they go, you're like a legend. We heard about you when Afghanistan happened. And then they pull some guy and they go, hey, he was in Afghanistan when you were there. I'm like, oh, small world, okay. And they're like, yeah, come eat with us, come have dinner. You can spend the night. and it's a full base at this point. There's like 100, 200 people there. So we're just eating food. It's been sent from America. We're eating some nice turkey. We're having a feast, basically. I'm eating better than I do in England. The food here sucks. I'm enjoying myself. They don't speak good English, but I kind of get the point across. We're goofing off, we're laughing. And then suddenly we hear an explosion, and the window behind us shatters. And they start yelling, oh, shelling, oh, we're being bombed. So we start running. We all grab onto each other's shoulders, clothes, we start running downstairs. And of course, we've got no lights. So we're kind of running in the dark. But my eyes adapt, and I can see there's some dust falling from the ceiling. We hear crashing. We hear buildings literally falling apart. It felt like I was in, that movie 2012, when everything's felt like that. And to be fair, I'm enjoying this. I've got the adrenaline going. I'm happy with me dying if it happens. I'm smiling. I'm like,
this is the best shit ever.
Exactly. We get to the basement, and there's a group of people. They have maps on the walls. They have everything, all the supplies. They have ammunition. They have pretty much a small arsenal, a small army, and they pull up and they're like, why were you smiling? And I was like, it's just what I do. It's my thing now. And then they start speaking in Ukrainian, which they didn't do before. And they pull me to one side and say, are you working for the British government? And I was like, no. And they were like, are you sure? And they were like, because that's not a normal reaction. Most people would be like, freaking out. And I'm like, no. I'm just retarded, I guess.
Just having a good time.
Yeah. He questioned me for about 10 minutes, and we end up doing a conversation towards the end. And I speak to him, and I go, what, you ever been abroad? You ever been to England? He goes, yeah, I did this marathon in England. And he tells me the distance, he tells me the time. And I know in my head that time he's done for that run is like special forces type of timing. This guy's either pro athlete or he's special forces. So I ask him, I tell him, I did this math in my head. Are you Ukrainian special forces? He goes, yes. So the chances of you finding us, slim to nil, man. You should have not found us. And your passport is really suspicious, like with all the stuff you've got. But it seems like you're on our side. We just don't care. Just don't take any photos of certain things. You're chill. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. And they started inviting me around the place, showing me all the boys, introducing me. And they go, okay, well, it's getting late. We've got this AstroTurf here. You can go and sleep on it. It's nice and comfy. We've got the heating still working. So I wake up in the morning, and I'm surrounded by about 4 Ukrainian women soldiers. I'm talking about blonde hair, blue eyes, model types. And they start, touching my hand and be like, oh, you okay? Do you want breakfast? I can get you breakfast. Like, we've got pancakes. And I'm like, ladies, I've got a boyfriend at the moment. I'm really sorry, but I'll take your numbers another day. Maybe I'll come visit after a war. But I've got to get back home to my hotel. So then we get into a people's carrier.
Did you feel like they were setting you up?
No, because at the end of the day, no matter how strong the temptation is, I wouldn't sleep with them. I'm a really strong Catholic in that regard. I just wouldn't, man.
Well, I'm not saying you had to sleep with them, but most men in that situation would have said, "Hey, yeah, let's go have breakfast and chat."
Maybe, honestly, I wouldn't put it past them. The Ukrainians aren't saints and the Russians aren't complete evil. You know what I mean? It's a Western perspective. The West always lies. So does every other country. It's all propaganda.
Yeah, because if I wake up to 4 hot blonde Ukrainians, I'm suspicious as shit. Like, nah, this got to be a setup.
Yeah, that's a good point, to be fair. You know what? I assumed the best, but I do see them doing that at that point. I could see them really trying to set me up so they can use me or
get information out of you.
Yeah, basically. I mean, if I'm a spy, they want to find out some extra information. I mean, right. The British spies are damn well good at what they do. Yeah. So, okay. So I excuse myself. I shake their hands. I'm like, I'll come back someday. And I get into a people's carrier, a transport vehicle. And they say, oh, we're going the same way you're going at the moment, we're near your hotel. So we start driving. They've got a PKM. They've kitted out. And we noticed, the entire buildings, everything around us that was there before has fallen apart. Like our building, the school was the only one that didn't get shelled. So we're lucky. We're lucky, like God looked after us, man. And then from there, they realized the road has been blocked by the fallen building, by the trees, by the glass on the floor. They say, you know what, you have to find your own way home. Go to the underground railway, knock on the door 3 times, and that's the secret password. They'll let you in then. And what you go do, you go walk on the railway tracks, you go walk on the underground, and you go navigate the city. That's how everyone's doing it. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, damn, that sounds easy. So I do a 3 knocks, and they open up this blast-proof door because they're using it as like a shelter. And there's people huddling there, sleeping on the floor. There's crates of water everywhere. There people are doing like fires, cooking food. They've got cats down there, dogs. It stinks like piss. So I decide to jump on the railway, and there's about 20 others coming in the same direction. We just start walking on the tracks for like 2 hours. We're just walking on the railway tracks underground, using our phone flashes. I start playing Clash of Clans down there because what am I going to do for 2 hours walking? Everyone's laughing, everyone's enjoying themselves, really.
You said Clash of Clans?
Yeah, I was playing Clash of Clans for life, really. Clash Royale as well. I was just goofing off, really. Mm-hmm. That's what most people don't like. No, that's what the mainstream media doesn't like. If you don't treat something with such extreme seriousness, and if you humanize something,
Yeah.
Because most soldiers, they're just having a laugh sometimes, which I find, So why can't I just goof off a little bit? Right. So eventually I get to my hotel. The lady doesn't know where I've been for the last 2 days. Uh-huh. And I stink to high hell. My hair's all messy. My clothes are dirty. I'm covered in soot as well from the underground. And she's like, oh, you okay? I'm like, yeah, just went on a little walk, just had a shower.
And then then that was there an extraction at that point, or that was basically your only experience with the Ukrainian forces?
Well, there was another experience. So I got the got the train again to Odessa, which is right next to Moldova, so outside of Ukraine, because I knew no one was going to go there. I didn't want people pinning any blame on me and saying, oh, he got an evacuation train out, an evacuation flight out. No, I got off from Moldova, and I looked on Google Maps, and I was like, okay, well, if I go from Odessa to Moldova, that's going to be like a 12-hour walk, 14-hour walk. So I just started walking. I just walked out of the country. Right? I was walking the snow. I was using Google Maps. I had my power banks charged. I just walked out of Ukraine. I had no issues there. And then I got a bus that took me from Moldova all the way to Poland, where my friend was. And my best friend, God bless him, we both bought a car together. The worst car in Poland for $600 because we're both broke, right? And we pack it with supplies. So we go on GoFundMe and raise $1,000. We pack it with supplies like food, high density food in general, water, snacks for children, diapers, medical aids. And we just drive all the way again into the front lines of Ukraine, and we start handing it out. We're like a really bad version of Santa, just throwing all this stuff out. People are happy, but they're like, who are these people? And we didn't have insurance on the car either. They just let us through the board of our insurance. So yeah, and eventually we decided, wait, if we're going to drive back, we can give some people a lift. Basically, we give them a free ride because it's really hard to get out of Ukraine. Like, the visa system's clogged up. The borders, it takes like 2-3 days, and if you've got small children, you got to struggle. It's really cold outside. So we find this pregnant woman, and then we find that she has a kid and she has a dog, and then she has another child and also an elderly lady, like a grandma, I think it was. And we just pick them up and we start driving them out of the country. We don't know she speaks English, so we assume she speaks only Ukrainian. And she's crying at this point out of happiness that we helped her because she was on the front line. She thought her house was going to be destroyed. Her husband's at war. She has no one. She doesn't know how she's going to get food. we're just really happy to help her. But we're like, oh, this is a bit awkward. She's crying, How do we handle this? I don't know. And then she stops crying and she's like, oh, I speak fluent English. And we're like, oh, we're sorry. But then the awkward stages pass. We start talking. We start singing like ABBA on radio. We're just singing along to some tunes. We're having fun. And when we get to some checkpoints, there's a lot of Ukrainian checkpoints. They thought we were human traffickers. So apparently there's rumors of Romanian men with fake like British or American passports going in, claiming they're helping women, but then trafficking them to like brothels or something. So we didn't know that. So when the Ukrainians pulled up and blocked our car, they were like, do you know these men? And she was like, well, no, not really. So we had to step out and we were just smiling the entire time, not understanding they're accusing us of being human traffickers or dodgy people. But in the end, they saw my social media. They were like, well, he has a decent following. We'll let him through. So we had no problems at the end. Well, one checkpoint, we had one guy that was handling a PKM, so, machine gun. He was too scrawny as well to handle it, but somehow he was holding it up, And then he actually misfired it. So I saw it ricochet, and it was like 1 meter, like 2 foot away from my friend. So it ricocheted off the floor and bounced at some angle. And my friend, when he was speaking to the Ukrainian soldier, he didn't realize he was almost shot. So I'm like, dude, you see that right there? You were almost shot. He just begins laughing. We just, it's lads on tour. It's a lads holiday almost, It's nothing like a movie. It's like War Dogs, basically. So then we drive all the way out. We treat the Ukrainian family to their first ever McDonald's. So we have a little bit of soy slop, They're really happy. And we get them on a train and they go and meet some family in Germany. And that's the end of my Ukrainian story.
There's something to you, because the chat is saying, somebody in the chat, oh, baby, I like it raw, said this is 100% shadow ban. I had to go to your channel and live just to find it. F YouTube. We only have 62 people here. I can't remember the last time I've had that low of an audience. So your name must be in the algorithm.
Yeah. I went shooting with the Taliban once, and that got 1 million views on YouTube. And then every video afterwards hasn't been doing too well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they don't want you speaking for some reason. Steph Curley said, well, this interview just took a turn for the redacted. Steph Curley said, dude went Hotep on the Taliban and got a hood pass. You seen that, right? So
I'm friends.
You said what?
I'm friends with the Taliban now. Oh, I went back a few times. No joke, I've got people.
How
on
you gonna
WhatsApp.
be friends with the Taliban, bro?
Well, they're not too bad, to be fair. It's either in Afghanistan. There's only 2 groups left that could take control. You've got the Taliban that are in control, and then you've got ISIS. And trust me, I guarantee, no matter how bad you think the Taliban are, ISIS are a lot worse, man. They'll just decapitate you for not doing certain things. At least the Taliban, when I've hung out with them, on 2 separate holidays to Afghanistan, they kind of chill now. They're asking for selfies with me. They're shaking my hand. They're inviting me for free dinner. One of them wants to throw me a party. He keeps DMing me, going, "Hey Marge, I'm a big fan of yours. The whole Taliban office in XYZ place loves you. We'll throw you a party, man. We'll bring cake and everything." Yeah.
So you've been back.
Yeah, 3 times now, maybe 4 times. I kind of lose count.
And what do you do? Well, you just fly into where, and then you're like, "Hey, I'm at the airport. Can you come pick me up?"
So it's usually I fly to Dubai or Pakistan when you fly to Kabul, and I just walk out normally. I just walk out with some clothes. So I'll show you my Taliban clothes I wear.
Got Taliban uniform.
That's my Ukrainian uniform I've got. You see that there? Got this.
What the hell?
Let me just grab the hat. Do I have a hat? Yeah, I do have the hat. Oh, I've also got something I think you'll like. Okay, so I don't think I've got the hat. But I usually wear this. It's got the this little scarf that you put around your neck. I've got this. It feels like pajamas, really. It feels like PJs. It's quite nice. And then I've got the Afghanistan flags. So I'm actually the biggest exporter from England to from Afghanistan to England. But that's another story. And then I've got the Taliban. What's it called? Towel.
Straight out of Kabul.
Yeah, legit. So what happened is I popped back down to Afghanistan, and I remember having a key card for a hotel I was staying in previously. So I thought, you know what, it's really cheap. It's right next to the airport. I'm going to head there. So I head there at like 8 p.m. and I basically knock on the door, and the compound, doors open, so these are big metal barriers. It's like a castle. And I show them the key card, and they're like, "Oh, come in, brother. Come on in, come on in." And then I get surrounded, and they're like, "Oh, who are you? Like, why is there a British guy here?" It turns out it's no longer a hotel. It's been converted to Taliban housing. Like, they got free housing for reparations, after the war. So they're just living there. So I just walked into like the Taliban military base, really. And I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of screwed now. But then they just go, "Oh, come on upstairs. We'll invite you for some food." They start serving me some rice, some chicken, some bread, and we're watching TV, we're watching cricket. And I took a selfie with them. They were really kind people. Yeah.
What can you say about the difference between the hospitality of the Taliban and maybe the personalities or hospitality of the Ukrainian? Who would you rather hang out with?
That's a good point. I honestly would say the Taliban at this point, because the Taliban do have their food, and they're a little bit more goofy. They're less serious, you know what I mean? Because they're no longer at war. They can just goof off. They're just a bunch of lads, They've been at war for 30 years, and they just want to have a little bit of fun now. And they treat me like a curiosity, and not a Fed sometimes. The Ukrainians are very lovely to me. I had no issues with them. But, it's a little bit more tense for them. They're a little bit more cautious, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I can see why they'd be on high alert, considering that they're at war. What about the Nazi presence? Did you see any Nazis there, or any signs of Nazism?
Oh yeah, tons. So
tons.
Yeah, tons. So a lot of them had patches that would have like the Hyperborean logo, that type of stuff. So you'd have the Hyperborean logo. I've seen a few with swastikas on it. That was
with swastikas.
Yeah, I've seen a few people with swastikas. I saw one soldier with his he had a patch on. It was a swastika patch and also a communism patch. So I think he's been online for too long. He's a little bit confused. But there was like a general presence of nationalism. There was some Nazi stuff going on. It's general idea of things. And plus, there's no minorities in Ukraine, so they're very, very, I would say, identity driven, if that makes sense. So I can see why they would go down that route in the long term, sadly. Yeah, man, there is some Nazi stuff going on there.
Identity driven, you're saying being very proud of being Caucasian Ukrainians.
Yeah, man, that's the only thing they have, because when Russia declared war on them and took certain parts of that nation, certain parts of Ukraine back, it was because they were partly ethnically Russian, and there was a huge debate about identity. So if their community, if their society can be very distinct and say, "Hey, we are Ukrainian, not Russian," that's how they separate themselves. That's how Russia can't suddenly say they're trying to annex the country to bring back the population. They're trying to make themselves very distinct, and it's pushed them to some very strong nationalism.
Interesting. Did you see any people there that were, like, "Hey, I kind of like Russia," or?
Yeah. So a lot of people called it a brothers' war, especially early on, because you can't really tell the difference if you put Russian and Ukrainian together. The facial differences, they look very similar. Basically, almost every Ukrainian speaks Russian. Most Russians in that area too speak Ukrainian. They have a very shared history. The culture isn't really as distinct anymore. So a lot of them to kind of defect almost. And then you've got a few Russian nationalists in Ukraine. You know, the house has been blown up by Russia, but they're still supporting Russia. So it's very confusing.
So you say there's no minorities there. You're saying people of color, I think is the term they're using these days. So how do you think Ukrainians would treat a guy like myself if I was there? If I did the same thing you did?
I think, well, at least they wouldn't know you're Russian, so they would have less issues with that. But they would treat you with suspicion. So the only minorities that would be in the country before the war would be Indians, because they went there for an easy medical degree. They had loads of medical schools set up, and that's how they did it. So they wanted like a European education. But if you went there, I think they would treat you with suspicion. You know, they wouldn't feel like you're part of them almost. And then, you know, they couldn't imagine you grasping the Ukrainian language or identity. But I think it's if you're white, they accept you, sadly. So it's a bit mixed. But honestly, I've heard of some people volunteering for Russia that are from Syria and Africa. You know, just straight up black people. So I know Russia would accept, most likely. I think you would have a better time in Russia if you volunteered.
If I volunteered, I would have a better time in Russia than Ukraine.
Yeah, in terms of being accepted by the army and the people.
Right.
I would say you would have. Say you would have issue surviving anyway on either side, because the foreigners, especially early on, they were just put as like cannon fodder. You know, they were used as kind of a shield, really.
Right.
So they would see you and go, "Well, this guy is just some random foreigner who's stupid enough to come here. He's volunteered to fight alongside us. He's going up front. So when we get shot at, he dies first."
Yeah. I saw a video of a black guy who went out there to volunteer for Ukraine, and it looked like he, according to the video, got his ass beat. Did you see that one?
Oh yeah, that was it. That was a while back, wasn't it? Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, yeah. At least when I saw it.
I think I heard about it. He just got completely beaten up or something. Right?
Yeah, they were abusing bully situation, something like that. Kind of reminds me of what you're talking about here. Is you know, I wouldn't be accepted in Ukraine, which I already knew.
Remember that gay person who went to Ukraine who was off Reddit?
Oh yeah, what happened to him?
So it was a person who went in with their own body armor, wearing pink, and I think he looked really feminine. This guy looked really feminine, you know, masculine. Looked like he couldn't handle war, and apparently he posted on Reddit saying, "Oh, I'm with the Ukrainian army. They accepted me. They call me Peter, which is like my nickname. But if you translate Peter in Ukrainian into English, it means faggot, basically." Yeah, so that blew up, and I was watching that like as I was driving out of the country. I was laughing my ass off a little bit, and then the whole Reddit battalion got pretty much turned to pink mist. You know, a bunch of Redditors went in bare, some of them trans, some of them wearing like full on pink merch with like gay right flags behind us. They just got blown up. So, you know, not the best outcome. Everyone romanticized it as some sort of epic fight. They thought it was Marvel's Endgame.
Yeah. Where were you? It doesn't seem like you had too much fear, but where were you more afraid? Was it Ukraine, or was it when you met the Taliban? Which one?
Oh, I would say London at this point, but if I had to pick between the two.
You said what? London?
Oh, seriously, man, yeah. I would honestly say London is more dangerous at night.
London, you're talking about England?
England, London, man. Like, it's a dodgy place sometimes. Like, I grew up in Birmingham, which was kind of, it was a dodgy place where I was constantly having a knife being put to me, sometimes at school, sometimes when I walk into school, you know, as a kid. The place stunk of weed. I saw people, you know, shooting up drugs all the time. Homeless people would just rob you. Birmingham and London's dangerous like that. I walk around Afghanistan at night, I actually feel completely safe because I know no one steps out of line there. The only place I wouldn't go in Afghanistan is a mosque because the ISIS bomb mosques for some reason. That's where bombings always happen. But nah, I wouldn't have any issues walking around at night. But if I have to pick between Ukraine and Afghanistan, I would say Ukraine's more dangerous because it's more cold. So if you are if you're stuck in Afghanistan at night, you could say huddle somewhere and someone will take you in and actually host you. Because they're good Muslims. They're very kind to guests and outsiders. Even if they don't stand them or respect them, they can be very kind if you kind back. They'll give you food. They'll help you out. But in Ukraine, everyone's abandoned their homes. There's a lot of suspicion of outsiders now because everyone thinks everyone's a spy. And it's really cold. Like if you don't have a few coats on, a few layers, you'll go freeze. So the stories of just people being found in homes, grandmas who were unable to get down the stairs, decided to wait out the war. They thought it was going to last like 7 days. The heating got cut and they just froze to death.
So I gave you the option between Afghanistan and Ukraine.
I'll say Afghanistan.
Let's dive into South Sudan, because you did South Sudan too, right?
Yeah, man, that was good.
What was that adventure like?
So that was my second one. That was straight after Afghanistan, and I just wanted to see what it was like. So I forged my way to a visa. I lied my way to get a visa. So to get a visa, you need an invite letter, right? You need an invite letter from a tour agency. It's bureaucracy. I hated that. And the only people giving tours, they charge like $2,000. And I was like, I don't have that type of money to throw around, So what I did, I went on my British government's website, and we can create companies using a website for like $12 equivalent, £12. So I created a company called Global Tours Limited, and you can search yourself, it's real. It's called Global Tours Limited. And then I created my own company header and my logo, and I created my own letter. And I based it off my visa invite for Afghanistan. And I wrote it up saying, I, the global director of the famous tour agency, Global Tours Limited, Miles Routledge, want to invite myself to South Sudan. I will give myself a tour and keep myself safe. So I was, it's so stupid to think about, but I was basically saying I'm my own tour guide. And I submitted that to the embassy in person. And he looked at it, looked back at me, looked back, and said, yeah, okay, we'll give you a visa. He'll be with you in 7 days. Yeah. I was like, yeah. I mean, what are we going to do? I meet to South Sudan? Hell no, they just don't care, They just want to know you're safe, I guess. It's a barrier of entry. So I popped down to South Sudan. And man, that place is messed up. Like, it has so much potential. It could be a really good place. The UN screwed up, man. The UN screwed up so badly. So they're keeping it on life support. So what we're doing is they're handing free food and supplies to everyone. But then they aren't teaching people how to do agriculture, man. They aren't giving them tractors and stuff to do it all themselves. And it's such an empty place. So you got the capital of Juba that's like 2 miles in diameter, and then the entire other country is just empty. It's just wilderness. It's lovely. It's just empty though. So you could farm it. It's really arable. It could be a really rich nation with farming, but you can't compete with free food coming from the UN. So they're doing it on purpose to keep them down, man. They're just trying to undermine them. And South Sudan used to be a very rich place, like thousands of years ago. So it was such a natural trade area. It was where the desert met the lush greenness, and there was a huge trade network that went on with Somalia back in the day, and it was a very rich area. So it's very bizarre to see. But when I got out of the airport, I told the guy, hey, I'm going to this hotel. How much would the taxi be? And he goes, $3. And I think he's ripping me off, right? So I'm thinking it's meant to be like $1, but I'm fine with that. I jump on top of his motorbike. He brings me there. And it takes 10 minutes driving. And the roads aren't paved, even in the capital. So then I give him I give him $20. And his life has changed. He's really happy. And I'm like, what's the average salary here a month? And he goes, the average salary per month is $30. And I'm like, so the UN here is investing billions of dollars into this country. And through a very small population, it trickles down to you get $30. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, why? He's like, yeah, even the head of the only hospital in the country, like the main hospital, gets like $50, $60 a month.
US dollars.
Yeah, yeah, US dollars. That's all we get a month. Maybe they have a side hustle. Maybe they sell chickens or raise chickens or something. That's usually what people get. Some people go to Juba University, the only university in the country, and they have a PhD in pharmaceutical engineering or something very fancy. You know, they're clever people, and then they become like chicken farmers because the the US, the UK, the whole of Europe is funding the UN through our taxes, man. The money we pay is just messing up the country. They're just keeping on a lifeline. You know, it'll be so easy to build up this country because they have some amazing people. Like these people are entrepreneurs. They're driven. They're very smart people. Like they started doing side hustles. I know some of them are creating websites, doing coding, stuff like that. They're just not being utilized. You know, they all speak English too, so it would be. I mean, you could set up a call center there. That would work to begin with. You know, if you have to start off somewhere. You could just do some stuff, but it's just corruption. You know, if you have $1 billion here, half it goes towards the top people in the UN, you know, the Satanists, and then it goes down, and then you get like the rich politicians that are in league with all these other nations, and then like a drop will go down to each person.
That's terrible. So what'd you do while you were in Sudan or South Sudan?
I did some sightseeing. I met up with a follower who was from South Sudan, and I helped him out. I helped him start a business. So he's now making $380 a month, doing marketing online. So he's like, he did some billboards in South Sudan, and he helps design the billboards and market them. He took a marketing course, and that's how I helped him. So he's a good friend of mine, lovely guy, lovely kid. It's tough, man. It's tough. Like, for example, there's this refugee camp in northern Kenya, just on the border with South Sudan. It's called Kakuma Refugee Camp. It's hell on earth because you've got all these people and they're meant to have free school and, you know, get billions in funding. But this refugee camp has been there for 20 years and they live in mud huts. Like, they'd be forced to live there. And they can't go back to South Sudan because they're wanted, because there was a genocide there, right? And they can't enter Kenya to find work. So you've got this like shanty town where there's no work whatsoever. It's just a closed economy. So in order to get a passport to leave the country, you need to go back into South Sudan. So that's what I did on my second trip to South Sudan. I drove from Kenya to South Sudan to get this kid a passport so he could work in mainland Kenya and actually go to university. So he's done well for himself, but honestly, like, yeah, it gets bad for some people. They get given free food, so they get no money. Of course, they get given free food. I think it's 2 kilos, like maybe a quarter of a pound of rice a month, just normal white rice. Maybe a few lentils if you're lucky, some sunflower oil, you know, some vegetable oil, which is, you know, bad for you anyway. You know, these seed oils are bad, and no meats. That's all you get actually. Maybe some salt.
You said some what? Some salt?
Yeah, maybe some salt if you're lucky.
Oh, so basically, you know, poison on top of poison on top of poison. Damn.
Yeah, so that's all we've had for 20 years, man. That every single month. And
this seems like a subsidy program. Is this like welfare? Is this like universal basic income in the form of resources?
Yeah. Well, it's like a refugee camp for people that fled South Sudan during the civil war. But because they fled the country, they're not allowed back in without a passport, right? But you can't get into Kenya with a passport. So it's like this own little special zone, right? And the only way to get in is to pay a bribe to the people to sneak out of the country back into South Sudan, which is what I did for my mates. So we paid some money and then we got back into South Sudan that way. But yeah, it sucks, man. It's a bad place because the people that are running it could be a lovely place. It's beautiful. People are good. We know how to cook when we actually get given resources. Agriculture, again, could be amazing. These people, you know, they sometimes sneak into Uganda, buy up some Nike shoes, buy up some merch, and they resell it within the camp for a small profit each time. Like, I know one guy, he spent like, I don't know how he got it, but he got $1,000. He bought up $1,000 worth of shoes. And then each month he makes about $600 just flipping them.
Yeah.
Because he makes, I don't know, $4 or $5 profit each time. And he sells them to like the aid workers or the rich policemen who, like, you know, get bribes off people. But it's tough.
So this UN situation that you're talking about here, is something that's occurring in this camp area?
Oh yeah, man. Like they control it.
How big is this camp area, would you say, in square miles
Square miles
or kilometers?
I would say 5 to 10 square miles, but there's about 200,000 people there.
200,000 people.
Oh yeah, that's how cramped it is. So in 20 years setting up this camp, there's not a single paved road. There's only a few water pumps. There's one building that has electricity. You have to pay to charge your phone there. Yeah. So you think with these millions flowing through the camp, they would set up something, but no, they don't. Journalists aren't allowed in. I got arrested because I mentioned the word corruption on Twitter. So the police arrested me, stole my passport off me, and held me for 2 days in Kenyan prison in Kakuma. They've got 8 of them yelling at me. They're trying to get me to say something dodgy so they can actually really arrest me. And I started calling up the embassies. The embassies say they can't help me, but they're trying to help, but they can't do much. I'm not paying a bribe. They're looking for like $2,000 for a bribe. So these people, these policemen get a ton of money. Think about it. And they were telling us about a story about some German people who tried to bring some solar panels into the camp, but they didn't pay off the people, the policemen that run the camp with the UN. So they all had to pay a bribe of $3,000 just to go home, to get their passport back.
How'd you get out of prison?
Yeah, so I go to my friends, the one who in Kakuma, in this refugee camp, and after 2 days, I pay his friend's mother $100, and I say $50 is for you. $50. You buy up a ton of alcohol, and you'll go walk into there because she's quite attractive. You go walk into there, and you go get the guy drunk. You go give him free drinks or something, and you go make up some story or whatever. And the guy was plastered. He was completely drunk, and then she managed to go into the filing cabinet, pull out my passport, and give it back to me.
So with the passport, what are you able to do?
I was able to go home. I was able to flee the country.
But aren't you detained in a cage or some sort?
I am, but at the same time, it's a complete desert. There's nothing else. So you can exit, you can go to the bathroom, you can spend like 10, 15 minutes walking. And every once in a while, I was spouting off about them because I'm a Westerner, a foreigner. I was like, yeah, I know my rights. I know I can call the embassy. I know I can call legal counsel. I want to go to speak to a lawyer. And they go, it's your rights. They don't want to piss me off too much. They don't want to cause like an international incident. So they let me out for like a few hours. And that's when I just book it. But then we get to the South Sudan border once again, right? Because I can't fly out of Kenya. So I can't drive all the way down to Uganda. That's too far. So we get to the South Sudan border. And once again, there's a policeman there. But this guy seems different. So he's really buff, huge, and he's wearing a very fancy suit. And he's very calm, actually. He's not scummy like the others. And he pulls me and he's very polite. And he sits me down. And he flicks through my passport. And he goes, okay, so you were wanted in Kenya. What are you doing here? And I said, oh, just charity work and tourism. He goes, charity work and tourism. But I look through your passport now and I see you've gone to South Sudan, Afghanistan, Ukraine. I don't think you'll be doing charity work and tourism. And he goes, I know what you do for a living, but we have no problem with it. But we need to sort this problem out. And again, he thinks I'm a Fed. So I'm there like, oh, thank God, okay, so maybe this can help me. And I just stay quiet and I try and act really professional and confident. Confidence is key in these situations, because most of the time that scares people if you're confident. So, I'm putting on a straight face, putting on a facade. And they call up the policeman and they go, oh, we found the guy. Yes. So what's he actually wanted for? For exposing corruption? No, that's not illegal. And he starts spouting out for the policeman who's so high and mighty in this Kakuma refugee camp. And he comes back to me and he goes, we did arrest you, but we've got nothing on you. You have no charges. These guys are just trying to screw with you, basically. Like, they're very corrupt, but it happens, And the guy basically goes, hey, I used to work in the embassy in South Sudan. I work for Kenyan Intelligence now.
Kenyan what?
And I'm like, Kenyan Intelligence. He's a Fed for Kenya.
Okay.
So I'm like nodding at him, like, yeah, this is not crazy for me. I just thought it would be a casual holiday, casual charity events, but no. So he's like, okay, well, we don't get paid well even with my job. This suit, it got given to me by the job. I'm stuck in this desert place right here. I spend hours a day driving. And he pulls out a post-it note and writes down his number. And he gives it to me. He goes, if you guys ever need anything, as long as you pay, call me. I'm like, okay, so I've got this guy thinking I'm British intelligence. And, he let me go. He was very kind, very courteous, shook my hand and everything. He turned me down at a selfie. I said, can I take a selfie? He said no. But, I pushed my luck and it worked out. So now I've got a few intelligence agencies in my phone book. Yeah.
So you're saying that there's this camp. What's the name of this camp? In
the Kuma. AKU. Yeah.
The Kuma, and you're saying the police force there. This is UN police.
Yes, they work with the UN very strongly.
They work with the UN strongly. Okay.
Yeah.
And these people are corrupt. I'm very familiar with bribes. When I was in East Africa, Tanzania, I remember we got pulled over by a police officer, and like you paid your fine like right then and there. You pulled some money and you hand it to him, get your license back, and you go. Or you can bring the money to the police station. Yeah, it's like very weird. Actually, he took our taxi driver's license and said, meet me at this station. And then we threw him some money, and later on he went and got his license back. Yeah. So I know about the corruption there.
Yeah. Was that your first experience, man? Or?
Yeah, that was my first experience in Africa. Yeah.
It kind of shakes you up, doesn't it, a little bit when you first do it? But then it feels kind of a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely shook up. I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah, I go about to get arrested in a goddamn foreign country.
Yeah.
But I went. You said what?
Yeah, I think bribing kind of works well if you've actually done something a little bit wrong, say jaywalking or something.
Yeah.
You want to pay it off, but when it's just nothing, you've done nothing wrong, we're just trying to get free money, that's what I don't like,
Yeah. Jabari Judah said the UN is a global pimp. Shout out to Jabari. Steph Colonel said, and people were mad at Trump for wanting to defund the UN. These people don't know shit, man. So what's your next adventure?
So I can't talk too much about it, but I can talk about totally unrelated, So there's an island off the coast of Brazil. It's called Snake Island. So Snake Island is the most dangerous island in the world because it's about 2 miles squared in size. It's a very small island, 20 miles off the coast of Brazil. Now the snakes on there, hence the name Snake Island, the snakes on there are the most venomous in the world. If they bite you, within an hour you're dead. There's no antidote, there's no antivenom. Now, this island has a rich history. So back in the day when the Brazilian country was setting up, they sent some people out there to build a lighthouse, and the people kept dying and they couldn't figure out why. So snakes are so good at camouflage, they didn't even see them. They just thought people were falling ill from something. So then they built the lighthouse, and then a family moved in. Like a little kid, a wife, and the husband to stay there and protect against like ships during the storms. But a snake snuck through the window at night and killed the entire family. Yeah. And they were found half a year later, just decomposing with snakes all over them. And there was also stories about pirates who went there and buried treasure on the island. So no one would actually get it. Now, no one's ever gone there and scanned for treasure. I don't predict there'll be anything there, but it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot having.
So you gonna go down there?
Oh, I wouldn't do it. I'm just telling a story. Yeah, I wouldn't go because it's illegal to go. I wouldn't break any laws, would I? Yeah, no. But if you go there with some snake-proof leather armor, snakes can't bite through too much, to be honest. They couldn't bite through this passport. So if I get anything this thick, I'll be fine, basically.
Okay.
And that I would also have knight armor, so say some medieval knight armor, because one, mad drip, right? You can just walk around all shiny, flexing a little bit, and two, snakes can't bite through metal. You're a walking tin can. You feel like a medieval Iron Man,
Yeah.
And the other trip I've got brewing up, right? This is good. So there's a border between Afghanistan and China, which not many people know. They share a small 50-mile long border. And there's only one point where you can cross because it's so mountainous. And no one actually lives in this area because it's so inhospitable. You can't farm. The only way is you can maybe look after goats and kill them every few months. So this is a very remote area. It's called the Khan Corridor, and it's actually beautiful. But I want to cross that border. I want to cross from Afghanistan into China, and no one has done it since 1947. Yeah, because no one has a reason to. Like, there's rumors that ISIS have gone down this route, because there's a sect of ISIS that actually are in China, if you didn't know that. So we've got some Chinese ISIS people, which is kind of funny to think about. So the Chinese border police have kind of got like a small base there to protect against them, and apparently there's like barbed wire and snipers about 20 miles into China. But when I jumped the border originally, my first story, when I jumped the border into Belgium, to see my girlfriend, I went to the Chinese embassy and I spoke to him. I said, "Hey, I'm in this country illegally, but I need your help. I want to cross this border, but I want your permission this time." And the lady actually recognized me, and I felt so honored. She was like, "Oh, I know your antics. I kind of like your work. Maybe we can help." So I'm kind of in negotiations with the Chinese government to legally cross that border, because there's only one photo out there I found. It's from 1947, a black and white photo. This area has been documented, man. Even Vice hasn't gone there. I want to go there. I want to cross it. And in exchange for them letting me do it, I'll talk about how well guarded the border is. So the Chinese government's like me, say, don't go there, only I can. And so the Taliban allow me to do it. I'll stick up a Taliban flag there. Because even the Taliban haven't gone 100 miles within this region. That's how is. And then also I'll stick up what I want to do. I want to help fund this. I want to get a stone slab, and whoever pays for it, I'll inscribe their name and whatever they want on it on the stone slab, and stick it on the top of the mountain. So then their legacy is forever there,
Ladies and gentlemen, Lord Miles.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
You can come with.
You're
welcome to.
Oh no, I think I got something to do that day. What day you say? Yeah, I got something to do that day. I'm not going to be able to make it.
Hey, yeah.
I would love to, invite me to the next trip. Well, I'll take a rain check on that one. Hotep Jesus will be in Afghanistan with the Taliban soon.
Would have no problems, man. Like, I think when you first interact with them, you'll click and you'll feel at ease,
Yeah.
But what's the most dangerous place you would want to go? Where do you think?
I've already been to the most dangerous place I've ever gonna be. Like one time I was in Passaic, New Jersey, at a strip club. It was like 2 a.m. And I come outside the club, and me and my girl are smooching on the car. And some dude like homeless, was like sweating or something like that. And he like, "Yo, I just came from the boxing gym. I need some money." And I know he's like trying to punk me for the money. And my girl, pew, she takes off. She hops in the car or whatever. And it's just me and him. She locked the doors and everything. It's just me and him standing there outside the car. And I'm looking at him, sizing him up. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably gonna lose this fight. He had some muscle on him, and it looked like he probably was at the gym. Either way, I was like, "How much you need?" And he was like, "Yo, I need $20." I'm like, "That's it?" Like, yeah. I'm like, "Man, scared my girl. There's an ATM right here. Meet me at the ATM. I got you, no problem." So I hop in the car and just pull out and just bounce and just leave.
Yeah.
But I mean, New Jersey, I've had run-ins where the Bloods have done the lights off, lights on thing with me, but I'm pretty good behind the wheel, so I kind of did a little maneuver and spun a block on them. But yeah, New Jersey is as dangerous as it's gonna be for me, and that's about it, man. I got kids and shit.
No, I wouldn't go to New Jersey, man. That's a dangerous place. I have my limits,
Yeah, you definitely don't, man. I'm gonna bring you back. I'm gonna talk about Kazakhstan and some ways that we can help solve the issues of this world.
Of course, man.
From the things that you've seen around the planet. I'm gonna bring you back. We're gonna do a part 2, and we're gonna talk Kazakhstan and any other adventures, and then we're gonna talk about some solutions, how we can help the world heal and sort of circumvent these problems. Steph Colonel said, "Hit us up when you cross the DMZ into North Korea." That'll be wild.
Oh, I love that.
This podcast will be available in audio format on Spotify and Apple Music and Apple Podcasts. Go to hotepjesus.com/podcast. Also, my new pills are here. My focus pills, concentration, memory, and flow. This is what I use. This is my life hack. I've been using them for the past 90 days or so, or maybe like 60 days. It's basically a 100% herbal supplement. Go to trymasterfocus.com. We have 50% off launch sale this week only. So if you don't get it this week for 50% off, don't say Hotep Jesus never did nothing for you. And also you'll be grandfathered in at the 50% off price on a subscription plan. Otherwise, if you get off the subscription plan, you'll have to pay full price later on. So it's better to get grandfathered in. This is something that, it's going to help you be mentally sharper. More on that later. Lord Miles, all his links are in the description box below. So make sure you guys give him a follow. And I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we have another episode of Hotep's Been Told You with Uncle Hotep. So make sure y'all tune in for that. We're going to have an incense battle. We're going to have an incense battle, and we'll show you guys what real incense looks like as opposed to Uncle Hotep's garbage incense. So look out for the incense battle tomorrow, 8 p.m. on this channel right here. Hotep's Been Told You. I'm out of here.